Good day everyone, Trainer Maxim with you. Thank you very much for joining me for this quick fix series. Today we're going to address the hip warm-up I keep seeing people doing in the gym this way. Let's see how it's done. As always, I thank everyone who supports my channel. Thank you very much, guys and girls. Your comments, suggestions, fantastic. Super thanks, appreciate it. And of course, my support angels. Thank you. Thank you everyone for supporting me. Thank you. Now let's see how we can do the warm-up for our hip before we run or jog in a slightly better way. So this warm-up I demonstrated, a lot of time is done before any activity for the hips, but sadly we keep doing them in this way. So the essence of this warm-up is to warm up the hip joint. But if you keep doing this movement, yes, in absolute terms your leg is going up and back, but sadly the leg is barely moving relative to the hips, because the hips are moving with the legs, because we're not holding the spinal structure and the core is happy to take the pelvis into this movement, thereby bringing the pelvis into the crunch up. The leg is attached to the pelvis, so the leg is up as a result of the pelvis being pulled up, and opposite happens on the way down, lower back pulling, getting the pelvis into the excessive arch. And because the leg is attached to the pelvis again, we're going back with the leg. And all it creates the impression that we're warming up our hip and also doing some active ballistic stretch for the hamstrings. Yes, you can feel some stretch of the hamstrings, of course, because still you have the momentum and still the weight of the leg is taking the leg up or back. So you might feel some light stretch here, on the way back here or here. But there is a slightly better and more efficient way to warm up the hip, like the hip, not just the ballistic stretch. First, of course, we would like to keep our spine stable, so the spine works in cooperation with the core. The core stabilizes the spine in the front, preventing the spine from excessive crunching, and the spinal muscles along the spinal column stabilize the torso from the back, preventing the torso from excessive crunching. So that gives us an opportunity to move the leg relative to the pelvis. So keeping the spine neutral in our way, upper spine goes up, lower spine goes down, good. Stretching the core thereby, engaging the core, great. Core is engaged, you have your obliques in front of the core working transverse, spinal muscles engaged, you're gluing the vertebrae to one another, maintaining the spinal structure. Now the hip flexors, the muscles are attached to the pelvis and to the leg, have a very stable structure of the spine to use as a base to hold onto while pulling on the leg, and so do the muscles of the back of your leg, the hamstrings and the other muscles which are bringing the leg back. And this way you can easily swing the leg relative to the hip and not with the hip, and of course not to mention the open shoulders, so you're not collapsing it. So a couple of things: keep the spine neutral, tall, shoulders open, great. Rotate both thighs in, since the legs are together, rotate thighs in. That will further improve your neutral pelvic tilt, because the muscles of the inner thighs responsible for the internal rotation attached here and to the pelvis here. By rotating the leg, they also pull on the pelvis into slightly better neutral tilt, providing you with more stability. And now the hip flexors have a better opportunity to pull on the leg up and letting it go back without compromising the spinal structure, without performing all those movements. And that's how you warm up the hip, and also that's how you do the active ballistic flexibility for the stretch, for the hamstrings and for the quads. So let's see, let's compare this one. 1, 2, twist often in order to achieve more range of motion back, twisting. 3 and 4 and 5. Of course, I'm exaggerating. Some people do that more elegantly, but still in the same way. So what we want: spine tall, shoulders open, leg forward. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Thighs in, thighs in, thighs in. Core engaged, spinal muscles engaged, shoulders open. There is no excessive movement in the spine, in the torso. Of course, there is some deviation of the torso side to side a little bit. Still, since the leg has mass creates the momentum combined with the speed. So we have the momentum here, it's physics, but all those deviations are happening against our desire to let it happen. And because it's happening against our desire to let it happen, it means that we're keeping the tone in these muscles in the core, tone in the muscles of the spine, tone of the muscle in the muscles of the shoulders, creating some structure. And the leg moves independently on its own. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, better stretch of the hamstrings, because since the pelvis is not going up, better ballistic stretch, better stability. And now you're truly warming up the hip joints, promoting better lubrication of the hip joints before you start running, because now you indeed move the bone inside the hip and not with the hip. Yes, when it's here, it's up, but so is the hip. So relatively to the hip, the leg did not move. And also keep in mind that when you emphasize the movement of the leg back, we have physiologically only 25 degrees of range of motion of the leg back without disturbing the pelvis. So that's pretty much it. The upper leg cannot be brought further back unless you arch the spine. And in gymnastics, you can notice that whenever we're doing the front splits, it's not done with the neutral spine. You have to allow some arch in order to bring the leg parallel with the floor. So just keep it in mind. For that reason, don't chase the height in the back. Just let the leg bounce naturally from this point forward. Not trying to chase a little bit higher, because you will compromise the spine, and that results in a twist sideways, on arching. You might hurt your lower back or pull the lower back muscles. Just keep it light. Keep the spinal structure stable. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And you can do that for 30 seconds. Thigh in, spine tall, rib cage a bit tucked. Think inside of the rib cage to the sides of the pelvis, or the back of the rib cage diagonally to the spine. And that's your warm-up, good warm-up of the hip. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can also stand a little bit higher on something in order to point the toes. That would be better activation, or point the toes dynamically point, not point so that you have the clearance. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and done. Okay, that is it for today. Try this stretch, try this warm-up before you run, and let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for your attention. Now go enjoy your day, try it, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. Trainer Maxim, bye-bye.